Hello and good afternoon and happy Easter. You might wonder why I'm not in my black shirt, but it's because it's laundry day and I'm just finishing up doing my black shirts and pants. So this afternoon I'm going to read a Bible passage from both Luke's Gospel and John's Gospel. And what this passage is about is one of the appearances that Jesus made to his apostles after he had risen from the dead. That's what we're celebrating now in these days of the Easter season. So I'm going to read the passage to you, and then I will also show you the picture that accompanies the passage. On the evening of Easter Sunday, the disciples of Jesus were gathered together in a room. They locked all the doors, for they were afraid of the enemies of Jesus, who had crucified their Lord. All the disciples were there except Thomas. Suddenly Jesus stood among them. "Peace be with you," he said. At first the disciples were not sure it was Jesus. They thought that they saw a spirit. They were afraid. Then Jesus said, "Why are you troubled, and why do doubts rise in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." Jesus showed his disciples his hands and feet. While they wondered, Jesus said, "Do you have anything here to eat?" They gave him some broiled fish, and Jesus ate it. Then the disciples knew that this was really their Lord who was crucified and had become alive again. Jesus talked to them for a while, and then he was gone. When Thomas returned, the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But Thomas would not believe them. He said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later the disciples were together again. This time Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, suddenly Jesus came and stood among them in the room. "Peace be with you," he said. Then Jesus turned to Thomas. "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Now Thomas believed that Jesus had risen from the dead and was really alive. He said, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not yet seen and believe." The Gospel of the Lord. So I will show you the picture as best as I can on my phone. And it's backwards, so even though the words are backwards, you can still make sense of the picture. So you can probably guess who Jesus is by he's at the center of the picture. He's in the white robe. But also, I'll get it a little bit closer. On his hands, more towards his wrists, you can see where the nail marks were. That's where the nails went through his flesh to nail him to the cross. And so these events take place first on Easter Sunday, but then also on a week after that. And this is the reading that we use for the second Sunday of Easter. And so what Jesus is trying to teach us is that at the very end, he says and reminds us, "Blessed are those who have not yet seen and have believed." For all of us living in the time that we live in, we have never seen Jesus, his own body, his actual in the flesh, and heard his voice. But we hear him in lots of different ways. We hear him through the words of Scripture that we read. We also hear him through the guidance of other people, such as myself, such as other people who are trying to teach us about God and the church. And so Thomas, it doesn't mean that he, his nickname is Doubting Thomas. But for some of us, we might be like him in the sense that, we have to see it in order to allow it to sink in that it's really true, that it actually happened. So I just encourage you that as we celebrate the Easter season, we don't let these days go by without kind of reflecting upon the importance of what Jesus did for us. Namely, that he went to the cross, he died, but also is alive again, and he lives in heaven, where we hope to be with him one day. So I do encourage you, to continue to celebrate the Easter season. It's a very beautiful time. It's obviously the outside weather has not been the greatest, but hopefully it will get better soon, so we can enjoy more time outside and to thank God for the many blessings he gives us. So please know of my prayers for you. And as I did announce this past week on Facebook, and that I will be moving to a new parish in Madison. And so I'm not moving yet. This won't happen until the late part of June. But I do ask for your prayers for our parishes and for the priest that will replace me. He's a very good priest, and he'll be a very good fit for all of you. So may God bless you, and I hope nothing but the best for all of you.